I don't even know where to begin in this game review. Like, I really genuinely don't. Like, this game from the first to the end of the third was just wild. And not a very fun type of wild game either. This was just not a fun game at all. And I don't know how you could be a fan of either of these teams and say that you enjoyed this game, because it was just god-awful to watch. Game 16 of the Winnipeg Jets season, and they lose to the Edmonton Oilers by a score of 3-2, and in a very odd, weird game, because, like I said, this game wasn't anything in the sense of that it was bad because of all these wacky goals and all these type of weird things, but for the fact that I like to refer to football when I believe that there's refereeing tampering or something like that going on where the refs are just making bad calls. It's just not a good game for refereeing. I call that ref ball, like a lot of other people do. And I don't think there's a better explanation to talk about this game more than ref ball for this game for the Winnipeg Jets and both the Edmonton Oilers, because for both of these teams, the calls were ridiculous on both ends of the ice. Yeah, as a Jets fan, I could think that there should have been more calls called against the Oilers, but as an Oilers fan, you could be saying the same thing against the Jets. It's just the way it's going to go in this type of situation, and I believe there were some missed calls, but Oilers fans are going to disagree with that, and that's fine. But the one thing we both can agree on is that this officiating really stopped both clubs from being able to get anywhere and grasp any type of momentum in this game. Yeah, the Oilers were able to score their first 2 goals in the first 2 shots of the game, and that was obviously not a good start and not a good look for the Jets. When that first happened, my heart sank, because I thought, oh great, I'm going to have to sit through one of these boring ass games where the Jets are going to play horrible first period, a mediocre second, and play decent in the third, and play actually very good in the last 5 minutes, but still somehow come out and lose this game and give me just enough hope to tease me. But nonetheless, that they didn't do that, because they actually still lost. But nonetheless, I didn't think they were going to win because of how the officiating was. For the first 2 periods, the refs couldn't stop blowing their whistles, and then about halfway through the third, they put them away and didn't bring them out at all, and it was bullshit, other than the fact that one Ehlers goal penalty at the end. And in my opinion, yeah, that's a penalty that's going to get called most of the time, but it's just a shit call, and you know what I mean. If you play hockey, you know exactly what I mean by that. It's just not a good call. It's not a penalty that any type of ref should really be thinking of calling in the last 2-3 minutes of a game. It was called in, and I just hate that. But nonetheless, what are you going to do? The Jets didn't allow a goal on that power play. They killed it. The penalty kill came up, but they just weren't able to recover with that last minute left in the game to score a goal. And really, that was basically the whole talk of this game. Not to mention the fact that, in my opinion, this was Adam Lowry's worst game of the season. In my opinion, he just looked off all game. He wasn't involved in a lot of the play. He was very sluggish, I felt like, in the neutral zone, and I've really noticed that presence that Lowry's really been able to carry down the center of the ice of late with while playing on that third line with Matthew Pro and Mason Appleton, and I just did not see that today from him. He just did not look like himself in the last few games, and hopefully that's just a down game for Lowry, and we're not starting to see a slump like we've seen in the past with him, where he can go into these long droughts of not being able to really do anything offensively. So let's hope that's not going to be the case with Lowry, and not to mention the fact that Andrew Copp, for about the second game in a row, where he's just looked bagged out there, and he's just not getting any luck, not winning any puck battles. He has had some opportunities, obviously, in the game where he looked like he was able to get a good scoring chance, but nonetheless, that happens to anyone playing in the top 6 most of the time, and he just didn't, as a player, did not look very good, and is a very sound guy from what we've seen. Andrew Copp is a better player when he has to create opportunities for himself, I feel like, and he's not really getting an opportunity to create plays for himself. He's kind of just being an assistant up there on the top 6, kind of just being that winger, being involved a little bit in the boards, but Andrew Copp is better when he actually forces the puck, makes a play, and is good with that, especially in the offensive zone, at controlling the puck and forcing plays behind the net. He's very good at that, and I just feel like in the last couple of games, he hasn't been able to do that properly, and that's really taken a toll on his offensive production and just overall look in that top 6 in the last couple of games. Again, just my opinion, but what you know about hockey, it's just my thoughts and whatnot. Nonetheless, I still want to talk about the good, and the good in this game for me has to be Pionk again. I think Neil Pionk has had the best 2 games of his season, and you could argue the 2 best games he's had as a Winnipeg Jet. He looked fantastic today with that amazing slap shot, top left or right corner. I can't exactly remember, but it was a beauty shot on Mike Smith. He had no chance to get that. It was a perfectly placed shot. Very nice to see him doing that. He just looked very poised tonight again. He was throwing the body around a lot. He was skating extremely well. He was making good, clean passes, I felt like. He had a very good puck control and puck movement on the second power play. And just in general, when he was out there and he was on the rush, he just looked very poised and very in control of the game. And I was very impressed by the way he played. He just looked like a different defenseman in every aspect of the game, and I thought that was probably one of the best highlights from this Edmonton series was Pionk's play. Hopefully, I've seen some people on Twitter joking about it, but hopefully Pionk can become, for this can be like what Laine has with Dallas, like this can become Edmonton can become the Pionk's team for destroying him, if you know what I mean. Something along the lines of that, having a little bit of a tongue twister there. But nonetheless, moving on to what else I think was important to talk about is the fact that Josh Morrissey, in my opinion, had a very much improved game that he desperately needed after the way he started the season. There's been a lot of talk about Josh Morrissey and whether or not he's worth keeping on the Jets ridiculously, whether or not he should be traded. I know that seems stupid, but the rumors have already started to come up because of his contract and how he's looked, and he has not really been able to carry a unit, let alone really be an anchor for that top four like the Jets hoped he possibly could be when they signed that long $6.5 million contract for the next 8 years. But nonetheless, I still think his play was really improved. He had 2 assists today. He was making good, clean passes. I felt like in the neutral zone, he wasn't making those stretch patches that I would like to see people making on the Jets defense more often. But nonetheless, I still thought that it overall was a good performance from Josh Morrissey and a more improved performance that we've seen from him. In my opinion, the last, I would say, about 3 to 4 games, Josh Morrissey has looked slightly improving every game, and this, in my opinion, was Morrissey's one of his better games. Obviously, I still think the best game Morrissey played of the season was with Ville Heinola, and I think that if Ville Heinola gets an opportunity to come up and play with the club again, I think that he will play with Josh Morrissey because Paul Maurice saw that. I think that if that happens, that will really will spark Josh Morrissey's game back up, but nonetheless, we're going to have to wait and see. That's just my opinion. Again, I'm still a guy who's very high on Ville Heinola. You might not be, but I still think, nonetheless, he does improve Josh Morrissey's play just based off what we've seen from the success Morrissey had just playing one game with him earlier this season. But other than Josh Morrissey having an improved game, in my opinion, Hellebuck, other than obviously allowing 2 goals on 2 shots to start the game, looked like a rock in the third period, and he looked very solid in most of the game after that. Obviously, he did allow that 3rd goal, but nonetheless, I still thought Hellebuck played a pretty fantastic game. There's not much you can do when your defense is allowing the opportunities and scoring chances that the Jets defense allowed Edmonton to get on them this game, especially Nathan Beaulieu just looking awful again, playing just horrible defense, and frustrates the hell out of me to see a guy like him playing even over Logan Stanley, because Logan Stanley, in my opinion, would have brought a lot of necessary grit to this game, and I think that the Jets need to give Logan Stanley more looks, especially against teams like Edmonton that have a lot of speed. I think using the body and playing a little bit more physical against them could be, especially for the fact that if your only reason for keeping Beaulieu in is the fact that he can kill penalties, I would much rather see a guy like Logan Stanley even killing penalties or experimenting with whatnot, because Beaulieu has not been good on the penalty kill at all. I've seen him make maybe a few half-decent plays, but most of the time he's a pylon out there. He's just not looking good at all. Just not a consistent defender, and he shouldn't be playing as much as he was. Thank God he was back on the 3rd pairing today, but still not having a good game and making pretty dumb decisions throughout the entire game, in my opinion. But yeah, that basically sums up my, thoughts on whether or not the Jets had a good and bad game with the players and whatnot. And as a team, as a whole, I thought that they played decent hockey. They played a good team-based hockey, I would say, in the 3rd with a lot of good puck movement. And there were good stretches in this game where the Jets' puck movement was just off the charts. I felt like they had really good puck control tonight in certain aspects of the game, and that's something that I wish I could see more from them, is making that extra pass and having that extra puck carrier and not just having, Kyle Connor, for example, breaking in on the power play, and that's your rush every time with the first power play unit. I definitely thought that there were better aspects to the game as a whole for the team because they just moved the puck well at certain times. They had good puck possession, I felt like, at certain times, and there were a lot of good rushes and opportunities that the Jets had throughout this entire game, where if it just wasn't Mike Smith playing pretty solid, I think the Jets could have got a couple other goals and a couple bounces, and obviously the ref ball being as bad as it was. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the missed calls and why I think that the Jets lost because of the reffing, because in my opinion, there was a lot of other problems with this game with how the team looked. There was a lot of positive, but in my same time opinion, there were bad negatives obviously as well. And although the maybe penalties could have swayed the difference of this outcome for both these clubs, I don't think that it makes that much of a difference in the sense that the Jets didn't allow 2 goals on 2 shots, and when you allow a game to start with 2 goals and 2 shots, it's hard to play catch up immediately starting the game. So that's basically what the Jets had to do. They shot themselves in the foot that way, and that's kind of just how it kept going. If the refereeing maybe got better in the 3rd and we get some power plays, maybe things, it's a different story, but nonetheless, you can't base, we lost and lose and all this off of a power penalty and how much the referees are calling, because there's just, you can't, there's no fun in that, and this wasn't that type of fun game anyway because of all that. So I just want to put this game behind me. Yeah, there was good and positive to talk about, but the Jets just shot themselves in the foot, and the refereeing didn't allow the Jets to get any favors in the 3rd period and in the 2nd period either. But let me know all your thoughts down in the comments section below, as always. What were your thoughts on this game? What were your thoughts on the play of Neil Pionk, Josh Morrissey, and whatnot? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below, as always. If you're a fan of hockey, regardless of the team that you root for, definitely consider dropping a subscription and turning on notifications. We're on that road to 1K subscribers, and I would appreciate any of the support you guys could give, and dropping a subscription really does help the channel grow and help get more into people's watch nows and whatnot, and building to playlists and everything. So thank you so much for showing the constant support to the channel and liking and subscribing if you did. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace, love, and positivity. I will see you guys in the next video. Go Jets, go.